Yeah, 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 yeah.
What is going on, everybody, man? That never gets old. I'm checking out the truth about the white slave trade. So if y'all don't know, I am a college student. I think I know a good amount about history. I don't know a perfect amount, like I don't know a crazy amount, but I'm a college student. Like, come on, bro, you have to know a lot at that level. So I don't know what to say about this, man. I don't know even know if I'm looking forward to this because I might learn something that I don't want to learn. But yeah, let's not waste no more time. Oh my God, please not be nothing crazy, and let's get into this.
Slavery is as old as human civilization, dating back beyond recorded history, and it exists even still today. Every culture on every continent practiced some form of slavery.
That still exists today? I did not know that. Y'all probably like, what do you mean you didn't know that, bruh? I didn't know that, bruh.
Whether it was serfdom, indentured servitude, or collective peasantry.
Okay.
However, when the slave trade is mentioned, people normally think of the black African slave trade to the Western Hemisphere. During the colonial period, from 1500 to the mid-1800s, as practiced by the European colonial powers. Estimates range from 10 to 13 million Africans being brought to the New World, with around 10 million surviving to be sold in North and South America, as well as in the Caribbean islands.
Yeah.
Of this number, the best estimate is that 450,000 went to the British, French, and Spanish colonies in what is...
Knowing that this happened is so scary. Like, this is so inhumane if you really think about it. But maybe it's not inhumane because if every civilization does it, and if everybody is still doing it, not everybody's still doing it, but people are still doing it, this might not be inhumane. But it definitely isn't right, bruh. This stuff is not right.
Now, the United States and Caribbean. Brazil alone received almost 5 million, the rest going to the Spanish colonies in South America. Slavery still exists in the world, yet most of the major powers ignore the fact and refuse to even acknowledge that it still exists. It is still quite active. Yet, 6 decades before the American Civil War, a war was fought by the United States on foreign shores to try and stop the white slave trade.
What?
What was the white slave trade? Does it still exist? Who were the Barbary Pirates?
Pirates?
What was the result of American intervention? How did it occur, and what was the aftermath? And how did 9 U.S. Marines and their mercenaries make history and give birth to a legendary fighting force while also ending the white slave trade in North Africa?
Slave trade?
Hello, I'm Colin Heaton, former soldier, Marine Corps Scout Sniper.
It was a whole white slave trade 60 years before the Civil War. And I didn't know nothing about it, bro. I had no idea. And it's crazy that we were fighting a whole war, and this war is nowhere near being taught in schools, bro. I had no idea that this even happened. I might have to look it up because this sounds kind of fake. But
history professor, historian, and book author, and we've answered these questions and other issues on this segment of Forgotten History.
During the late 18th and early 19th centuries, the world was on fire, as France and Britain were engaged in the Napoleonic Wars, which was another series of conflicts just like the 7 Years' War, again involving every nation in Europe. The 7 Years' War was also known as the French and Indian War in the United States. Both these conflicts were fought on every continent and on every ocean and in every colony. Even during these protracted wars, the transatlantic slave trade continued. It was big business. While the European powers were destroying each other, Thomas Jefferson became the 3rd president of the United States from March 4, 1801 to March 4, 1809, and he had several major issues to contend with. The Louisiana Purchase of 1803 from France doubled the size of the United States. The Yazoo territorial disputes in western Georgia were hotly contested. the launching of the Lewis and Clark expedition in 1804 to explore the newly acquired country, and the contested issue of slavery. In 1806, Jefferson denounced the international slave trade as a violation of human rights and called upon Congress to criminalize it. Congress.
So he denounced it in 1806. Yet we're in 2023. How many years is that? That's at least 200 something, 220, 217 something along those lines. We're that far away, and countries are still having slave trades. Countries are still having slave trades today, and America denounced it more than 200 years ago.
Congress responded by approving the act prohibiting importation of slaves the following year. No longer could slaves be brought from Africa, although slavery was still legal in the United States. Then there were also the rising tensions between the United States and Great Britain, which dominated the final years of Jefferson's second term, as the Royal Navy had been seizing American merchant ships and impressing sailors. However, one situation which has gone largely unnoticed in history was Jefferson being the first president to send the military overseas into direct action: the war against the Barbary Pirates. For decades prior to Jefferson's accession to office, the Barbary Coast pirates of North Africa had been capturing foreign merchant and warships, stealing their valuable cargoes, and enslaving crew members, while often demanding huge ransoms for their release. Many of these ships and crews were American. Before independence, American merchant ships were protected from the Barbary pirates by the naval and diplomatic influence of Great Britain, which had threatened the use of military force should their ships be molested. However, that American protection came to an end after the colonies won their independence. The Barbary pirates also attacked the coastal northern Mediterranean, launching attacks against France, Italy, and Sicily, kidnapping women as white slaves, primarily and whenever possible, notable wealthy persons. And
How come none of this information? And this is what I don't like, bro. I've been to school my whole life, and I go to pretty good schools. Like I'm not upset at my teachers or anything. I'm just upset that all this information is literally like never even mentioned. Like it's like it don't exist. And I'm not, bro. You know them fat textbooks you get in school, bro. You know them fat textbooks, and none of this is ever even like this. This don't exist to me, bro. This don't exist because I've never even heard any of this before. And it's annoying because it's like if you think you smart or you think you know a lot or you think you are a student, you come across a video like this and they're like, oh yeah, it was a white slave trade, right? You'll be like, what? What do you mean it's a white slave trade? You got you stumbling over your words. But no, this is real history. Learn about pirates and stuff. This is actually annoying me, bro. I'm not even gonna cap.
And ships for ransom. In their feverish search for white women slaves, a few pirates even went as far as the coast of Iceland, raiding inland to kidnap women and bring them back to North Africa. North African slave markets thrived, as, under Islamic law, known as Sharia, although fellow Muslims could not be enslaved, non-Muslims could be and were. Over a period of more than 300 years, it is estimated that 1 million white Europeans, to include those captured at sea as well as through land raids abroad, were enslaved. Many of these were Americans captured at sea. In 1794, in reaction to the attacks, Congress had passed a law authorizing the payment of tribute to the Barbary states. Part of that law was the Naval Act of 1794, which authorized the construction of 6 frigates, establishing the United States Navy. By the end of the 1700s, when Jefferson was Secretary of State, the United States had concluded treaties with all of the Barbary states, the Ottoman regencies of Algiers, Tunis, and Tripoli, along with independent Morocco. When Congress authorized...
Am I being indoctrinated, bro? Because this is real information. But the fact that... How many history classes do you have between the ages of 5 to 20? Not one class! Not one! Not one! So y'all only teach me what y'all think I should know? And that says a lot, man, because never mind.
$80,000 for Morocco to not molest American shipping, it was considered a good deal, as it was a cost savings when compared to the loss of ships, cargo, and sailors. The Bey of Algiers, Mustafa Baba, also agreed, and many American merchantmen were escorted by Portuguese warships, as Portugal also had a treaty with the Islamic states. But Jefferson was opposed to paying tribute, which he considered to be a modern Danegeld. When Saxon England paid the Danish Vikings not to attack, it did not work. Although Morocco and Algiers initially agreed, just weeks before Jefferson took office, Tripoli began attacking American merchant ships in an attempt to extract further tribute. Jefferson had seen enough. Jefferson tried diplomacy, and his letter to Pasha Yusuf Karamanli emphasized, "Our sincere desire to cultivate peace and commerce with your subjects." Pasha Karamanli, the ruler of modern-day Tunisia, felt that the Americans had insulted him by not offering to pay tribute. He threatened continued actions if not so respected. Pasha Karamanli was already at war with Sweden, having broken an existing treaty after Sweden agreed to pay annual tribute and ransom for 131 captives. 14 Swedish merchantmen had been seized by Tripolitan corsairs. Some of these were white women who were being transported on Swedish merchantmen, and it is not known if they were ever recovered, as the white women were rarely ransomed. They were highly prized and...
Bro, if other countries was doing this, man, if other countries are still doing this or whatever, at this point I'm a little confused. I'm not even gonna hold you. But if other countries are running around with slaves and stuff, why do people act like America's the worst place? Because if you was to ask me, bro, before watching videos like this and stuff like this, I would probably think, or nah, because I'm not even gonna hold you. I'm kind of smart. I'm not even gonna cap. But anyways, you would think, just from what you hear in the news, let me get off this screen. You would think from what you hear in the news that America is just terrible, like we just the worst place on earth, but other countries sound 10 times worse, bro. People riding in boats and you kidnapping them off the boats and charging, like, come on, man.
...on by chopping down the flagpole at the American consulate in Tripoli, a direct act of war. Jefferson sent 3 frigates and a schooner under the command of U.S. Navy Commodore Richard Dale as a show of force and to protect U.S. ships entering the Mediterranean through the Straits of Gibraltar. Dale learned of the declaration when he reached Gibraltar on July 1st, 1801. From that point, Dale's ships blocked 2 of the Pasha's corsairs operating as raiders and messengers inside the harbor. Yusuf Karamanli was shocked at the American audacity. The Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, Selim III in Istanbul, was also less than amused, yet did not interfere when the Americans became involved. He had just concluded treaties with Russia and Austria and was trying to westernize his empire along Western lines. This included eliminating the white slave trade, and this position was not favored by many of his subordinate regional leaders, especially in North Africa, and they launched a revolt against him, and his cousin and successor, Mustafa IV, had him murdered in 1807. He was not about to give up such a lucrative business dent into their pirate enterprises, to include the white slave trade. The possibility of Tunis...
What's so weird to me, bro, is that in America, we have it's like anti-America teachings. Like, the only reason I'm even saying that is because, like, stories like this that I don't really know if they're true or not, but seem true to me. But these stories just make America look better, like, in the eyes of the citizens and stuff. They, like, make America look better. Like, yeah, we went and got our people back. These just are literally not taught. So instead of you trying to teach me something that will make me have a positive view of my country, I'm literally learning to hate my country. And I'm not saying I hate America, I don't. But I'm saying that's what we're taught. Like, we're not really taught that specifically, but y'all get what I'm saying. So these type of stories where, like, it makes the country look good, I'm just never even introduced to, so I'm just living life thinking we the worst in the world. Whole time, this is just not accurate, man. And it's very upsetting.
Algiers and Morocco joining half the group. He had a tough job controlling the largely undisciplined mercenaries, and the infighting between the Christian Greeks and Muslims, few of whom were professional soldiers, became a problem. His promises of money and loot once they took Derna was looked upon skeptically. However, O'Bannon and his 8 Marines embedded with their mercenaries shared food, hardship, water, and earned their trust. O'Bannon decided to take the Muslims from Eton, exchanging them for his Greeks. The Marines built a strong fellowship by not denigrating the Islamic faith. They discussed their similarities and differences. O'Bannon also knew that many of these men had either been hostages themselves or had lost friends and family to the white slave trade. Eton reported in May 1805.
Even that phrase just sounds wrong, bro. The white slave trade. Who would have even imagined?
Quote, "Our only provisions are a handful of rice and 2 biscuits a day," end quote. From March 22nd to March 30th, several Arab mercenaries, under the command of Sheikh Hamid el-Tahib, staged mutinies. By April 8, when he crossed the border into Libya and Tripoli, Eton had quelled the Arab mutinies, but he could not stop the desertions. In late April, his army finally reached the port city of Bomba, some miles up the coast from Derna, where U.S. Navy warships USS Argus, Nautilus, and Hornet, with Commodore James Barron and Captain Isaac Hull, were waiting for him. Eton received fresh supplies and the money to pay his mercenaries. Argus gave an additional cannon to the troops. On April 26, Captain Hull's ships then opened fire and bombarded Derna's batteries for an hour. Meanwhile, Eton divided his remaining army into 2 separate attacking parties. The attack began at 14:45 hours, with Lieutenant O'Bannon and his Marines leading the attack with 50 inexperienced Greek gunners. Eton's force was halted due to high volumes of enemy musket fire, but O'Bannon pushed his men through the inaccurate fire, as witnessed from the ships. Carefully interchanging his men into various ranks to fire, advance, reload, and continue the process, O'Bannon's force took the fort cannons. Eton, wounded in the left wrist, would report later that O'Bannon, with his Marines and Greeks, had, quote, passed through a shower of musketry from the walls of houses, took possession of the battery, end quote. Eton's forces caught up and turned the defenders' own abandoned guns against them, pushing them out of the city and into a well-placed ambush set up by O'Bannon just outside the main gate. During the entire battle, O'Bannon lost 2 men killed and 3 wounded Marines, with 9 of his mercenaries killed. Eton's losses among the Muslims is unknown. O'Bannon raised the flag over the captured city at 1600 hours. They had just defeated a force 4 times their number, who were in a fortified defensive posture. And for the first time in American history, that a flag from the United States had been raised on foreign soil. Hostages were freed, and the Navy sank the pirate ships in harbor.
That is crazy. God bless America.
Naval fire from Argus and the other ships forced them back, and Derna remained in American hands. Yusuf reluctantly signed a peace treaty on June 10, 1805, aboard the USS Constitution. The treaty granted American ships passage through the Mediterranean without further payments of tribute and freedom from harassment. This also meant joining the other European nations in halting the very active and overt white slave trade. The war was over, and so was active white slavery from North Africa. Marine Corps legend has it that Hamid presented O'Bannon with a Mameluke sword, a sign of prestige and power. Emboldened by this event, more European nations also increased their naval presence and resisted the Barbary Pirates, stopped paying tribute, crippling their commercial trade and extortion rackets, ending their raids on southern coastal Europe, ending hostage-taking and their demand for ransoms and the white slave trade. Presley O'Bannon and his 8 Marines had done the seemingly impossible, but it would not be the last time Marines were called upon to do the impossible and succeed. Semper Fi.
We hope you enjoyed this segment of Forgotten History.
I enjoyed the segment of Forgotten History. It was definitely forgotten, and I never knew anything about this. But anyways, if you have any more suggestions, comment them down below. And subscribe to the channel. Let's get it.